All right, recording in progress. Welcome, everybody. I am talking to the wonderful Becky Ogden. She's based out of Arizona. We've been working together now for about a couple months, and we met on a Facebook group. I had made a impromptu post a couple months ago, prompted by a good friend of mine, and she commented on the post and said that she was interested in connecting and receiving some kind of help. I don't even know what I was offering at that time.
I don't remember either.
But you took it on, and we decided to connect, and we had a pretty informative, I would say, first session. And from then on, given what you were working on, we decided, okay, how can we help each other? And you have so wonderfully offered to do this video testimonial with me, and here we are.
Here we are. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So Becky, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're working on, and what made you decide to take the plunge with me?
Okay. So I'll start with the first one. The last question that you asked, what made me decide to take the plunge with you? I already knew that mindset was going to be my biggest enemy. As I was doing, as I was working on what I'm currently working on. I already knew that I had lots of baggage of, problems with self-worth and things like that that were going to need to be dealt with. And they still, I've made progress, but I'm definitely a work in progress. I'm not sure that that's actually a one and done thing. Like that's something that once you triumph, I don't feel like it's something that you ever really triumph over. I feel like it's a constant mindset thing where you have to choose to be, to do the work that you do with clients, continue that work on your own as the client. Like it's something that I work on all the time. It's definitely not as difficult anymore, and it's not something that I feel like it doesn't get in my way as much, but it's still there. I'm aware of my own personal issues. I think that they're pretty deep and stuff. So I knew I needed help with that. And here you were, you work with mindset and stuff. The business coach that I work with for business stuff doesn't do much with mindset. And so that's not his bent. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to deal with this. And so that's what brought me to you. I knew that as I was going through trying to, figure out what I was going to do, who I was going to do it for, and how it was going to be structured, that my own, the limitations I placed on myself based on, how I feel about myself or what I think I'm capable of, were going to be things that had to be dealt with before I could move on. So does that answer the question?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Well, what made you think that mindset was the thing that was holding you back?
Oh, because you're never going to exceed your own opinion of yourself. That's just, you won't do what you think is impossible. You won't do what you think you don't deserve. You won't do what you don't feel like you're worth. And so, I'm well versed enough in mindset and success principles to be aware of that, just not on my own, well versed enough to do anything about it by myself.
Oh. Gems right there. It takes a lot of self-reflection for you to be able to get to that point where you realize, I've tried this strategy, I've tried that, and I've tried this coach and that coach. At the end of the day, what's holding you back is your own assessment. And
well, I pretty much went there. I've been very aware that mindset's been a problem for me for a long time. I just haven't been aware of what to do about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew, when I hired Dino, I knew that he would help me with, the business building aspect of it. I wasn't expecting him to help me with the mindset. But I knew I needed to deal with that mindset. I knew that, like I could tell, you can tell yourself all the right things. Like, You deserve this. But standing in front of the mirror going, it doesn't change. That doesn't make deep change. You can tell yourself, I am worthwhile. I'm a worthwhile person, right? And I deserve success. But if you're the thoughts don't change the feelings that are still underlying there, right? If you still don't feel like you are worth that, worth success, deserving of success, then having the thought doesn't change that feeling. And you can't feel your way into creating a thought, at least from my perspective. Your work kind of helped me. Like I thought it was really interesting because, you asked me to pinpoint a time in my life where I remember this being a problem. And I hadn't ever really thought about pinpointing a time in my past where I remember it starting to be a problem. I had been really focused on what can I do to fix it right now? Like I didn't care that much about, I don't care that much about what happened in my past. I can't change my past. But your work showed me that, that there are ways that I can maybe reframe my past that can and do make a difference in the way that I view it and the way that I carry it with me going forward.
Got it. Yeah, and to help whoever's listening understand what we did, we went back in time to when you first felt that same feeling that really triggered you in the week that we were working on this, and we accessed resources and we added those resources in, and by resources, things that we all have access to within ourselves, something we don't need to seek from outside, something like patience or love or acceptance, whatever it is, and we added those to yourself in that situation, and we recreated memories.
It's so woo-woo stuff. I just don't even understand how it can possibly work, but it does.
Well, so it's interesting you say that, because some of this other stuff that's out there, like law of attraction and like affirmations and things like that, at the end of the day, you're trying to convince yourself that that's true. Like, as you said, feel into it. It's like, how the heck do you do that? Right? So it's like when you have those like moments where you're just like, well, I'm telling myself something that I know is not true, right? So how can you get your mind to believe that what you're thinking is true? And so that's what we did, was like, okay, well, let's create a new movie. Like, let's create something that you can be like, oh, well, if I had known this and if I had done that, then things would have turned out X, Y, Z. And then we extrapolate that into your entire life. And I'm not saying and trying to take credit for everything, because one of the quotes that I live by is, if the client succeeds, it's because of the client. If the client fails, it's because of the coach. And if that didn't work, we would have tried.
Or because the client didn't do the work.
At the end of the day, the client needs to be committed enough for them to be like, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And whatever tools I provided, you had manifested them anyways.
Okay.
So yeah, and again, props to you for being vulnerable and being courageous enough to take it on. Because
I gave up a long time ago trying to hide stuff. It doesn't work. It just makes them bigger. The stuff that you try to conceal, it's like it's drawing nutrients from underground, So yeah.
That's fair. Well, so I got a couple questions for you. How did your perspective actually shift? Like, how would you say after we did the booking sessions, what changed in your day-to-day, in your opinion of yourself? Like, how did your life change?
I think that one of the things that I thought was really, really interesting was the process of reframing how I think about the events in my life that have shaped, and in this case it's largely negative, shaped who I am and the the way that I feel about myself. The stuff that we're working on was all the negative stuff, because I don't need help with the stuff that I know I'm rock solid on, right? Now nobody goes to, hey, I feel great about myself. Can you make me feel greater about myself? And that's not what people typically do. They're like, I'm struggling here, and can you help with that? But I thought it was really interesting to give me, to have me give myself the tools that I didn't have in the moment, and figure out how things would have been different if I had accessed those tools, if I had been aware of those tools, and used them, how things might have been different, or that my perceptions may have been completely off to begin with, because I was viewing this particular event or a series of events through a particular lens of nobody likes me. And so this opened up the idea that maybe this situation that I had made all about me, because we're egocentric and stuff, had absolutely nothing to do with me. And so as soon as I realized that, that had absolutely nothing to do with me. Why am I allowing that to be a core memory? It is like there. It's one of the things that I have never forgotten. And if it didn't have anything to do with me, why do I still have it? And so, but that took away the power of that core memory. Like, I don't feel the intensity of that core memory anymore. I remember how I felt, and I remember how I viewed it, but I also now am able to look at that and go, yeah, Becky, that probably wasn't actually an accurate reflection of reality. And so it softens it, makes it less impactful.
For sure. And that hopefully creates space for you to create a new future, a new identity, a new reality. Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just a big rock in your foot.
Well, yeah, and also to evaluate situations as they come, where yes, this is the lens that I am viewing this from, but what else could be true in this scenario? What other things that I may not be considering could be true? And if I thought that instead of this, how would my view of the situation change? So
good. I will, in light of the fact that people's attention spans are short, I will end with one final question.
Okay.
What kind of a person would you recommend my work to? Or who in general would you recommend what we do to?
I would recommend that you work with, or that somebody that really wants to expand their perceptions of what's possible in the mind. If somebody's not open-minded to the kind of work that you're doing, like I still don't understand the science behind what you do, and the science of what you do, because I have immersed myself in that kind of research anyway on a cursory, like superficial level. I'm aware that there is a lot of scientific support for it. And I'm familiar with, the terms enough to be dangerous. But so I already had buy-in for what you're doing, because I was already aware of, like NLP and stuff like that. And that it's not a fraudulent kind of thing, like some people might think, oh, I don't know about that doesn't seem right, or that seems weird, or whatever. So I think to work with you, somebody's going to need to be open to things about the brain and how it works, and languaging and how that works, to get the most out of it. Somebody that is willing to commit to doing work, because honestly, it's a lot of work. And it's hard to do on your own. Like, you gave me homework, and I found it much harder to do the homework than I did to work with you.
Wow. Okay. That's really good feedback. Okay. Mm,
So,
mm,
and I think that's the reason that people work with coaches, like for what I do, working with people on their content and stuff, it is much easier to generate ideas for content when you're bouncing them off of somebody else. And
totally.
so the same thing for you, going through this work, it's so much easier to have somebody there to say, okay, so, refocus, okay, try this. All right, if you're not seeing this, then how about this?
Mhm.
Kind of, just feedback and guidance to for me to try to recreate that on my own was difficult. Not impossible, but difficult.
Yeah.
Difficult enough that if somebody was not fully committed to it, they would be like, nah, never mind.
Yeah. Well,
So,
what we would have done if you hadn't done the homework was we would have further sessions where we'd continue to do that ourselves,
mhm,
right? So what I would usually do is if someone doesn't do that homework is it would just take a longer time for us to do
right.
the same amount of same amount of things. So the fact that you were able to get through maybe the thing that was holding you back the longest within a few weeks of us working
Mhm.
speaks to like how
Pretty cool.
committed you are, and
Yeah. Well, yeah,
that
it's
it was
cool
like
stuff.
it's not like, okay, I would like for this to happen. No, it's like, damn it, I'm gonna freaking do this. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna make
I
this
want
happen.
this to happen. Mhm,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I I like, well, your work is largely visual, in my mind, as far as, like that's how, you're telling me to visualize things. And I don't, as I've shared with you, I don't visualize well. And so I had a hard time with that component of it, of the visualization. And you're saying that it'll get easier as you practice it and do it more. And you're not the only one person who's ever said that to me, by the way.
mm,
But I end up, the way I figured out that the way that I actually end up visualizing things is not pictures, it's feelings and words. um,
mhm,
and so, to work with somebody who can appreciate the person that visualizes in pictures versus the person who visualizes in words and in feelings, even or emotions or sensations in the body, would be, and then frame it that way for each person, I think would be really incredible. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, because I had a hard time with the pictures. Like I don't see
mm,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, it's not necessarily that you don't see stuff. It's that it doesn't carry as much of a weight of like you
I
can tell,
guess.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, this is so much easier. So
Mhm.
a good feedback for me is like, okay, how can I make it easier for you instead of trying to conform to
Mhm.
what the majority of people might have done. So
Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no, I really I super duper appreciate your help. And I definitely want to stay in your world and stay connected, and continue to give and get value, and help each other out wherever we can. I would have no hesitation at all about recommending you to somebody, as a mindset coach, anybody who needed it. So
thank,
definitely. Yeah.
thank you. Awesome, Becky.
Cool.
Well, yeah, we are definitely already in touch. We're
Okay. Yep.
supporting each other with what we're doing. And so that's already underway. And as I was saying before, like this is just the beginning. We
Mhm.
are, turning the corners in our business respectively, and in our businesses respectively. And this is, the first part is the belief work and the identity work. And
Mhm.
so, you
I'm
know,
super excited to see what you come up with, and the directions you end up going, because I know you've been doing some soul searching and reflection on your own as well. And sometimes the coach needs a coach to do that. And I hope you've got adequate support for that too.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I'm so blessed to be able to say that I do. So, well, that's it for
Okay.
this episode. Maybe there's
Episode.
more episodes. I don't know. We'll see. But hey, Becky, thank you
Awesome.
again for taking the
Oh,
time.
no
I
problem. Happy to do it.
and
Hope it helps.
I'll see you on the other side.
Okay. All right. Later.
All
Bye.
right, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Okay.